Hello there, I'm Jessy Chahal. You're watching the Midday Update coming to you live at 12 p.m. It is the 1st of September, but we are still celebrating our nation post Merdeka Day. Now, another reason to celebrate, of course, is what's happening at Tokyo. But this time around, there's a bit of a buzz on Twitter as well after the Malaysian contingent's appeal to reverse Ziyad Zulkifli's disqualification in the men's shot put F20 final at the Tokyo Paralympics has been rejected. A few questions around exactly what transpired. We're not sure. We'll keep you updated with those developments right here on Bernama TV. The World Athletes Organization has released a statement in relation to the counter protest from Malaysia, Ecuador, and Australia earlier this morning as well. Our sports team comes on to broadcast later on in the evening, and they may have some updates then, so do stay tuned. Now, for folks in Selangor, water supply to consumers in several areas in the state that have been hit by an unscheduled cut will resume in stages starting from 7 a.m. today. The Pengurusan Air Selangor Sdn Bhd or Air Selangor Corporate Communication Chief has said that water supply in 463 affected areas is expected to fully recover by midnight on September 3rd. It is also being restored in stages at this point. Here's a message from His Majesty the King. The Young Dipertuan Agong Al Sultan Abdullah says social cohesion, national integration, and racial unity are key to tackling challenges including COVID-19 here in our country. Meanwhile, Comptroller of the Royal Household of the Istana Negara, Dato' Ahmad Fadil Samsudin, in a statement says His Majesty also advised the people, the rakyat, to maintain good health and stay united in creating a safe environment to help curb the pandemic. It is a battle we are all in together, and we shall fight through. It does seem like the end is near, of course, with the rollout of the national immunization program and everyone, gearing up to be inoculated as well. On a Facebook post, in fact, the Prime Minister has called on the people to embrace the theme of this year's National Day celebration, and that is Caring Malaysia. Ismail Sabri attended the celebration that took place yesterday morning. He, of course, couldn't make it there himself, but he did attend it virtually. He is right now in self-quarantine after coming into close contact with the COVID-19 positive patient. Now, according to the Special Committee on Ensuring Access to COVID-19 Vaccine Supply, a total of 64.2% of the country's adult population have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 as of yesterday. These are the latest number we have. The statement also went on to tell us that 60.5% of the country's overall population have received their first jab. 46.5% have already had both doses of both jabs. Now, separately, the MACC chief has vowed to investigate allegations of medical doctors receiving bribes from vaccine refusers in exchange for vaccination certificates. Is this really happening? Well, members of the public who have any information on any type of misconduct can reach out to the MACC via the hotline number 1-800-88-6000 or the Corruption Complaints portal, simply at portal.aduan.sprm.gov.my. We're hoping that people will come forward and share if they have any information, and we hope that that will happen soon as well. Now, moving on, the debate over booster shots of the COVID-19 vaccine is heating up globally on concerns that the contagious Delta variant is capable of infecting fully vaccinated people. The WHO, or World Health Organization, argues that it may be too early to push for COVID-19 booster shots at this point, especially when many people around the world have not even received their first dose. The Malaysian Health Physicians Association president says giving a booster shot to increase the efficacy for someone who already has a protection should not be prioritized over those who have zero protection. And moving on to the Finance Ministry, the Malaysian National Budget 2022 will be drafted with an inclusive approach in the Keluarga Malaysia spirit and will work to ensure that no one is left behind in receiving government aid. In its historic pre-budget statement published just 2 months ago, or rather 2 months ahead of Budget 2020's October 29 tabling, the ministry says the the three themes of the next year budget are in line with the expected economic recovery for next year. At this point, as we talk about recovery, resilience, people coming together and reaching out to help one another, I'd like to bring in the founder of Primed for Success, Koh Mui Han, to talk a little bit about what him and some of his friends and colleagues are doing to help lift and empower youth in the country as well. Hi, Mohan. It's good to speak to you. We did have some time off air as well,
Hi,
and we talked
Jessy.
at length about what the many of the unsung heroes behind the scenes that really try to help one another and try to uplift. And this time, of course, we're talking about youth as well. So tell us, as we begin, what is Primed for Success, Mohan?
Okay, thanks. So Prime for Success is a weekly pay it forward initiative started to actually gather the experienced Malaysian professionals to come together to help our younger Malaysian friends, especially the graduates, those who are still in university, the undergraduates, as well as the fresh graduate who's just graduated, and also those who are starting out in their careers, between 1 to 3 years of working experience. So every week we gather small group discussions to actually allow these experienced ones to mentor the younger ones. Yeah. So basically, in a nutshell, that is Prime for Success. Yeah.
That's right. Of course, when the going got tough, that was, at the beginning of last year, a bunch of people came together to do their bit for the country. And as you and those involved as well found a gap with fresh graduates not being able to acquire required skill sets to be prime and ready for what we now know is the next normal, the new normal. Okay, as Malaysian youth unemployment, we're seeing this right now at an all-time high. You say that our young graduates, especially those fresh graduates, need a lot more contact time with business professionals. This is to align their thinking, their mannerism, their work ethic, perhaps also their worldview. How do you manage to establish that these were the gaps in the first place, Mohan?
Yeah. So by profession, actually, I'm a management consultant, and most of my clients and business associates are either the HR professionals as well as owners of companies. So for the longest time ever, we've been getting feedback from them about how unprepared the fresh graduates are. So year in, year out, we hear this feedback, and then 4 years ago, I decided to do something about it, which we actually myself actively went into university as part of our CSR to help to bridge that gap. But talking to them on a seminar basis, we realized that 1 2 hour seminar for the students may not be sufficient to actually close this gap. Because generally, any undergraduates, even when I was undergraduate 20 odd years ago, our view are very myopic. We only see 3 to 6 months ahead. We don't see anything beyond that because it is not really real for us. So that's where we gather to understand that if every week they are able to speak with business professionals or corporate managers, that will help to change their mindset a bit. Also encourage that kind of maturity conversations to take place. So when they do go for the interview or you start the work, they are able to have a much more ready sense because rather than hard transition from university to workplace.
That's right. It is a big change as well, and it's can be quite intimidating, especially when you come from a very perhaps a more secured environment into a brand new, a fresh environment. So based on that, you also said that virtually that reach to Malaysians who are perhaps not even here in the country,
Yeah.
having access to this sort of training and exposure. You say that they value that. Is there a particular template you use in getting young people prepped and prepared for the next big step in their lives?
Yeah. So our platform on a Friday, every Friday evening is quite unique in the sense that number one, we are different professionals to come in as mentors. And it is just by a word of mouth on LinkedIn. Many have decided to join us because they see this good need. And all of them are looking at the areas. And with that itself, we run what we call a free flow mentoring session, a 45-minute 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 kind of small group session in the breakout rooms. We are using Zoom to actually help that to come along. But arising from that, moving forward, in fact, starting from this Friday itself, we're going to go into specific tracks for mentoring. Things looking at career pathing, looking at CV matters, as well as how to manage relationship in the workplace.
How do you get the buy-in of those assisting with this program, and what has been some of the feedback that you're hearing, versus what are some of the plans that, or how do you see this program growing and reaching more youth across the country?
Right. So we did a tabulation last week in that sense. Over the period from April until now, the 4 months, we have about 350 undergraduates or fresh graduates that log in consistently with us over a period of 6 to 7 sessions. And accumulatively, they have actually clocked in 100,000 minutes of mentoring sessions. So one way is that we actually see a great impact for the mentors. And the mentors are actually very, very inspired on a Friday evening because they see the impact towards the students or the younger ones. And they also realize that interacting with the young ones also help to shape some of their worldviews with the younger generation, whether it's the millennials or the Gen Zs. So this itself, to be honest, we actually have too many mentors that want to do this. And we are trying to expand it further so that we can get more mentees in to
Well,
allow
that's a
this.
good problem to have, where you have
Definitely,
people wanting to help.
definitely.
Very importantly, Moihan, before I let you go, who can join this program? Please share as much information as possible. And to viewers, this is a paid forward community project. I just wanted to reiterate and underline that. Moihan, tell us how and who can be part of this program.
Yeah. So we have a LinkedIn page, Prime for Success, which we will put in the weekly registration link for all the mentees, which they can sign up. Basically, every Friday night from 8:30 to 10 o'clock, we run this session on Zoom. There will be some quick introduction in the session before we go into the individual breakout rooms. Each breakout room will have one experienced professional, business manager as the mentor, where there'll be 3 or 4 other mentees in the room, where they spend 45 minutes of free-flowing mentoring session, and then we come out to process a bit of what they are learning and also some announcements. So basically, that is as simple as it. So if you want to get out to know more, do visit our LinkedIn page, Prime for Success. I reiterate that again. And then, we can take the conversation from there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ko Moihan, founder of Primed for Success. You can find the page on LinkedIn to follow the developments of the program. And if you're youth watching and would like to gain more information, gain more knowledge, and have access to these mentors, you can also log on to that page. Now, according to an annual report, the Southeast Asia region, led by Indonesia, has added 70 million new online shoppers since the start of the pandemic. This is in an annual report by Facebook Incorporated and Bain & Co. So with a survey of more than 16,000 people across the region, Singapore, Malaysia, the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam, researchers have found a rapid pace of digital adoption during the pandemic and related lockdowns. Hear this, by the end of this year, they expect each of those countries to have 70% or more of its adult population as digital consumers. Now, this is a jump from 5% to 9% of online retail activity, and this has also marked faster growth than India, Brazil, and China. So Southeast Asia as a region, we are gaining traction, and of course, we are gaining strength as well. We talk about the future of business and how do you future-proof that as well. I'd like to bring in NORDIN Abdullah, Crisis Communications Analyst, to tell us a little bit more of how businesses can be future-proofed. Welcome to the program, NORDIN. It's good to see you again. The current developments globally and locally as well have brought us to this point of perhaps inflection. Many are taking stock of where we are, and many are also asking, well, what is the future like? What will it hold? One area of interest to you, I know, is the field of future studies. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about what that is and why is it important moving forward, NORDIN?
Exactly, Jessy, and always a pleasure to be here on the show with you. I think a lot of people and a lot of people we deal with is on a crisis, and crisis is really about today's problem, solving it today, where future studies is looking further out into the future and saying to ourselves, okay, what does 5 years hold? Actually, what is 10, 20, 50, and even 100 years hold for a business, for a society, for an entire country for that matter? And it's more about developing a narrative. It's all about developing possible futures and probable futures. So what is possible and what is probable is very important. So are we looking at key global megatrends. So you mentioned in your earlier story about now there's a precursor. Now we're seeing this precursor of people moving into the digital space, online shopping, another 70 million. So if we extrapolate that out into 5 and 10 years time, that means we need to future-proof our business to deal with this global megatrend. And if we say this trend in Southeast Asia is faster than the rest of the world, we need to move quickly. So how do we then develop a narrative within the company that allows us to take part in that global megatrend?
Well, a big part of the success of any business in the present or for future is, of course, strategy and decision making. So in terms of tools for decision making, what can we take out of your toolbox, a toolbox of a futurist, NORDIN?
Exactly. Well, part of course, one of the leading experts in future studies is Professor Chahal, and I'm very glad and honored to be able to spend a lot of time with him over the last few years. But one of the key tools that I like to use is a tool called backcasting. So if you've gone to the future, what does that look like? What does 50 years look like for you? Or what does, maybe that's too far, what does 20 years look like? And then how do we move back into time to where we are now? And what are the steps that we need to take? And how do we take those steps within the organization? And then how do we design a metaphor? And this metaphor is very important. So is the company a ship on a rough ocean, or is it a happy place that you go to? So if you look at global brands now that develop metaphors, not just brands, you see companies like Apple who kind of develop a metaphor and a community around that metaphor. So people start to live the future by buying the products now. And I think that's the key part of designing a future for a company and for a business that needs to take advantage of new trends that are happening now, especially post-pandemic.
That's right. When you talk about creating scenarios for the future, what are some of the sort of standard scenarios that one should consider or prepare for, NORDIN?
Well, first, I always like to start with outlier scenarios. Kind of what is the worst case scenario and what is the best case scenario is probably the easy way to think about it. So now we say, okay, look, that's all that's possible. So now when you start looking at what's all that is possible, then you can start to look at what is probable. What is the most likely future that you will experience? And then you start to plan how your company will be in that future. If you don't think about the future, it's very hard to plan for the future. And I think this is why a lot of people, and you see now, people are stuck looking down, looking down, and all this footage that we're looking at is people looking down at their phones. Actually, what you need to do is look up and look forward and see where we are going and what does that mean for your business. So it's really that difficult part to say, okay, stop doing what you're doing now because you're here, but now where will you be in the future? Are you part of that future, and what part of that future, and how are you designing a personal future that fits into the future that is probable for most companies?
Look up and look forward. I think you quite aptly summarized the essence of future-proofing a business. Very quickly, before I let you go to, what is the difference between strategic planning and conducting a futures exercise? Because it does seem like sort of the same practice or concept.
Very simple. I think when we talk about strategy, we're talking about the chessboard. We're talking about the pieces on the chessboard, and they all move in a certain way. That is how you have to come up with a strategy based on that reality. Now with futures thinking, okay, what happens if there is no chessboard? What happens if the chess pieces can jump 5 spaces? It's very much, in a sense, thinking like a child. If you've ever played chess with a 2-year-old, they say, okay, I want to move it here. What happens if that is possible? And I think that is part of the kind of what is possible thinking, as opposed to, look, this is our box of 64 squares that we must operate in. So it's about thinking outside of the box and also taking away the box. So I think that's kind of the DNA of getting to a futures thinking perspective.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that and imparting that knowledge as well. It's been a good chat. I'll speak to you again, Nordin. See you soon. Take care and stay safe. That was Nordin Abdullah weighing in, of course, on future-proofing businesses. He's a crisis communication analyst, and he joins me every Friday on the weekly Roundup as we look at some of the biggest trending stories that is happening in the country and around the world as well. Well, here's one. Almost a third of the world's tree species are at risk of extinction, while hundreds are on the brink of being wiped out. We have come to that point. This is according to a landmark report published by the Botanic Gardens Conservation International that was published earlier this week. According to the State of the World's Trees report, 17,500 tree species, that makes up for some 30% of the total, are at risk of extinction, while 440 species have fewer than 50 individuals left in the wild. So this overall number of threatened tree species is double the number of threatened mammals, birds, amphibians, and reptiles combined. It may seem like, well, yeah, the world's evolving, this and that, but this is troubling as well as worrying. We really do need to do our part to save Earth. Moving on to what's happening internationally as well. In Palestine, the Gaza has named a road in the western district of the city as Malaysia Street in commemoration of Malaysia's National Day. Well, look at that. Sharing the announcement in his posting on Twitter, the cultural organization Malaysia chairman Muslim Imran stated that the road sign is located at Ansar Roundabout to the west of Gaza City. That sign states that Malaysia is a South Asian country that gained its independence from Britain on the 31st of August 1957. 64 years of Merdeka. In Brazil, researchers have found that a molecule in the venom of a type of snake inhibited coronavirus reproduction in monkey cells by 75%. Now, this is a possible step toward a drug to combat virus causing COVID-19. Of course, this is this portion that's been found. This molecule is a peptide or a chain of amino acids that can connect to an enzyme of the coronavirus called PL-Pro. I'm sure if you're interested, you can find more information on that and follow those developments online as well. Talking about the coronavirus, the Delta variant, as worrying as it is, now a group of Japanese researchers say they've found a new mutation of the Delta variant. And this has been discovered for the first time in Japan. The research team at the Tokyo Medical and Dental University Hospital announced the findings, saying the mutation was found when a patient infected with the variant visited the institute mid last month. And according to official figures, German unemployment fell more than expected last month in August as a recovery continues in Europe's largest economy despite rising COVID-19 figures. The Labour Office says the seasonally adjusted jobless rate fell 5.5%, the lowest since March 2020 when Germany first entered its lockdown. Of course, this is an issue affecting so many countries and so many people across the globe as well. In soccer, Manchester United confirms Ronaldo is signing on a 2-year contract. They have confirmed that they have re-signed Cristiano Ronaldo 12 years after he left the club to join Real Madrid back in 2009. Of course, he's already signed that contract with the option of being extended for a further year. I'm sure all his fans and all football fans will enjoy that piece of news as well. What's trending on Twitter? I always like to give you an update of what's happening on social media. Twitter is our go-to place. Look, I'm on social media as well. My handle is at Jessy Chahal. If you have an opinion, you have a viewpoint, you'd like to tell me something, please leave your comment there on my Twitter page. What's happening on Twitter? That's right. Ziyad broke the world record twice in Tokyo. However, officials have removed the results of Ziyad after a protest launched by the Ukraine team that he was late to enter the roll call area. The Malaysian team are still in a discussion with the technical delegate, but the appeal decision rejected by the organizer. Malaysians are still proud of his achievements, I'm sure. Please look him up Twitter as well. He has apologized to the nation for this incident, but we want to tell him you do not need to apologize. We're celebrating. A win is a win is a win, in my opinion. And there's also a tweet that says, no matter what happens, you are our gold medal, Ziyad. That is indeed touching. Please, they need all the support they can get out there. Now, Independence Day, that's still trending on Twitter as well. Merdeka, as we say. Malaysia Day, not too far ahead of us. Let's keep that spirit up in the air. Let's, look at our similarities versus our differences as well. Some of the tweets on Twitter about our Independence Day. One goes, only in Malaysia can we speak 4 languages in one sentence perfectly. I'll read that out to you. Weh macha, you want to makan here or tapau? How many times have we used that? And also an international student had tweeted on behalf of IIUM international community saying, we want to use this opportunity to thank Malaysia for welcoming us with open arms and making us feel at home. You know what? That's why I love my job. I love doing and sharing stories like this with all of you. Thank you very much for joining me the 1st of September on the Midday Update. Keep it locked on to Bernama TV. A lot more coming up, good programs, good conversations, and also the latest developments and updates of what's happening in and around the country. I'm Jessy Chahal saying goodbye. Do take care. Please wear your mask and stay at home. See you soon. Bye-bye.